Alaska's Inside Passage. This rugged strip of coastal Alaska is an enchanting land of great beauty. Here, jagged peaks block moisture from the North Pacific, feeding ice fields larger than some states, creating glaciers too numerous to name. The rain feeds lush green forests. The streams and rivers drain into deep fjords, hidden in their depths, an abundance of life. The Inside Passage is a land of many moods. Today, the water's glassy and calm. Tomorrow, unforgiving. At the same time, it can be beautiful and dangerous. The Inside Passage is a land rich in its wildlife. The wilderness begins on either side of the road. A map of Alaska shows why the southeastern region is often called the Panhandle. It stretches 500 miles from Icy Bay north of Yakutat to Prince of Wales Island at the southern tip. In between, more than 1,000 islands. 10,000 miles of shoreline. Dotting the wilderness, dozens of fishing villages and logging camps, and the larger communities of Ketchikan, Petersburg, Wrangell, Sitka, Juneau, Haines, and Skagway. In all, home for roughly 63,000 Alaskans. The waterways connecting these communities are as deep as the mountains are tall. They are canals left behind by the advance and retreat of mighty glaciers. 15,000 years ago, a sheet of ice as much as a mile thick covered all but the tallest peaks. While ice no longer dominates the landscape, it's still an ever-present reminder of ages past. The emerald green waters of Tracy Arm wind 25 miles through some of the most scenic terrain in all of Alaska. Icebergs, calved by two glaciers at the head of these waters, are floating sculptures, each unique in shape and beauty. Tracy Arm is a classic fjord. The sheer cliffs rise 2,000 feet. The water below drops to 1,200. Words can hardly describe the beauty of nature's handicraft. The iceberg unleashed by the South Sawyer Glacier is the size of a football field. It will float the distance of the fjord into Stevens Passage. If Tracy Arm whets your appetite for glaciers, you'll feast in Glacier Bay National Park and Preserve. Located 100 miles northwest of Juneau, 16 tidewater glaciers descend from the mountains to the sea. These rivers of ice are the remnants of the last ice age, where glacier and water meet. Untold tons of ice calves into the bay. Brought to the world's attention more than a century ago by naturalist John Muir, Glacier Bay attracts thousands of new explorers each summer to marvel at this unique ecosystem. Calving is but one of many sounds in the symphony of Glacier Bay. Where Marjorie Glacier has let go of its stronghold, the silence is broken by the cries of kittiwakes. They cling to the rocky ridge, building their nests on the smallest of ledges. Farther down the bay, the baritones of Steller sea lions join the chorus. They haul out on South Marble Island, content to bask in the sun and socialize. The sea lions and their harbor seal cousins are protected from their natural predators while out of the water, but they are shy of man and can be easily spooked by even the most well-intentioned boater. More than 200 species of birds have been recorded within Glacier Bay. Remote islands are favored nesting sites for many. Cormorants, oyster catchers, and puffins. The waters of Glacier Bay are also the summer home for the endangered humpback whale. These gentle giants are often sighted at the mouth of the bay where food is plentiful. Adult humpbacks average 40 to 50 feet long and weigh in at up to 60,000 pounds, equivalent to more than 8 African elephants. They often travel close to shore. One humpback in this pod lets out a distinctive horn-like blow. The humpback whales migrate to Alaska each summer from Hawaii or Baja California. While here they consume enough krill, shrimp, and fish to last them the rest of the year. The humpbacks often beat the water with their 14-foot flippers or their flukes. Researchers believe the whales are trying to herd or stun their prey. The humpback whales are also quite acrobatic, lifting their 30-ton bodies out of the water. Whales have been observed breaching as many as 40 times in a row. Scientists have yet to discover why whales breach. Some speculate it's simply playful exuberance, or perhaps it's a warning or a display of dominance. A chance encounter with these graceful whales is a highlight of any visit to Southeast Alaska. Near Glacier Bay on Chichagof Island is the Tlingit Indian village of Hoonah. Translated, it means the place where the wind doesn't blow. Hoonah, with a population of 900, is the largest village of Tlingit Indians in Southeast Alaska. On this day, local Tlingits and park rangers from Glacier Bay are dedicating a newly carved canoe. It is a significant cultural event. Nearly the entire town fills the gymnasium. The song tells of how their ancestors came to this land from Glacier Bay in even bigger canoes. The Tlingit people and the Haida Indians in the southern Panhandle have lived along the coast for more than 1,000 years. In canoes like this, skilled Tlingits would hunt sea otters and seals. When the first European explorers anchored off these shores in the mid-1700s, they found a prosperous society. They also discovered the valuable furs they came looking for. Russian fur traders were the first to colonize Southeast Alaska. The capital of Russian America was at New Archangel, known today as Sitka. Reminders of the Russian influence are everywhere, in the spires of St. Michael's Cathedral, at Castle Hill, where the Russian flag was lowered and America's raised in 1867, in the rhythm of the New Archangel dancers. The Sitka National Historic Park commemorates the 1804 Battle of Sitka between Kiksadi Tlingits and the Russians. The totems and interpretive signs along a 2-mile trail tell of the stormy relationship between the two peoples and the 6-day siege that drove the Tlingits from their land. Sitka is also home of the Raptor Rehabilitation Center at Sheldon Jackson College.
Come on, Quasi, you bring your head around here now.
Volunteers dedicate their time and skills towards rehabilitating bald eagles injured in the wild. Several eagles are nursed back to health and released every year. Summertime events range from the All-Alaska Logging Championships to the Sitka Summer Music Festival, an event rivaling any concert house in the world. Located on the outer coast of the Panhandle, Sitka is a charming community by the sea. Its scenic location and rich history make it popular among all visitors. There are only two ways to get to Southeast Alaska: by air or by sea. Most visitors still choose to cruise the Inside Passage aboard luxury cruise ships, which ply the southeast waters between May and September. The first stop on a cruise of Southeast Alaska is usually Ketchikan, and that explains why Ketchikan is called Alaska's first city. During the cruise season, the city's population of 13,000 sometimes doubles when the sleek cruise liners literally tie up to downtown. Although tourism is big business, this island community is renowned for its fishing fleet, and in days past it was known as the salmon capital of the world. Much of Ketchikan's economy is still based on fishing and fish processing. The timber industry plays an equally important role. A short walk from the city dock brings you to Creek Street. As is the custom in many southeastern towns, the homes and businesses were built on pilings above Ketchikan Creek. For most of this century, Creek Street was the red light district. Today it's home for several respectable businesses. Before there was a town, Ketchikan was a fish camp for local Tlingit Indians. The native influence is still strong, both in the economy and culture. Two parks in Ketchikan display a wide variety of totem poles. Carved out of cedar by Tlingit and Haida Indians, the totem poles stand as a reminder of Southeast's native heritage, a living art passed from generation to generation. The old-growth rainforest of Southeast Alaska is included in the Tongass National Forest. The Tongass covers over 16 million acres, making it the largest national forest in the United States. Within its boundaries, one of Alaska's natural wonders, Misty Fjords National Monument. From the pristine shoreline to alpine lakes, Misty covers more than 2 million acres of protected wilderness. A prominent landmark within the monument is New Eddystone Rock. This pillar rises from the Beam Canal. It is the core, or plug, of a prehistoric volcano. All but the dense plug has eroded away over the centuries. A visit to Misty is a lesson in Southeast Alaska's geology. The granite cliffs, polished by advancing glaciers, rise 3,000 feet from the sea. Giant boulders sit atop these cliffs, exactly where they were left by the last glacier's retreat. Very little of Misty has been touched by man. There are no roads here. It is as wild and pristine as the day it was created. The higher elevations belong to the mist and the mountain goat. These agile climbers find protection on the rocky ridges. Their hooves are uniquely adapted to moving about these mostly inaccessible cliffs. If the cliffs belong to the goats, the forest belongs to the feared Alaska grizzly. Admiralty Island is home to more than 1,500 Alaska brown or grizzly bears, nearly 1 per square mile. It's believed to be the densest concentration in the world. Tlingit Indians call the island Kootznohu. Translated, it means Fortress of the Bears. When the salmon are running, Pack Creek, 30 miles south of Juneau, is a favorite fishing hole for these coastal brownies. Using their powerful forepaws, they trap the salmon on the creek bottom. The brown bears will spend the entire summer feasting on salmon and berries, fattening up for winter's hibernation. Males may weigh up to 900 pounds, females slightly smaller. Catching fish takes practice and patience. The younger bears will learn from their mothers. Brown bears prefer to keep to themselves and congregate only in the summer when the salmon are running. They are known to stake territories, marking trees or stumps along the salmon streams. But with such a large number of bears and such a popular stream, occasionally conflicts arise. By turning her back, this sow is inviting trouble from the larger male. Grizzly mothers will defend to the death their offspring. When another bear approaches too close, a skirmish is likely. Our camera recorded a classic encounter near the tide flats at Pack Creek. With her 2 yearlings watching from a distance, Mom strongly suggests that this newcomer is not welcome. The chase ends in a standoff, and then another charge. In slow motion, you see the powerful muscles of this grizzly. Over short distances, they can run as fast as a racehorse. The bears are only half the equation in this annual drama along Alaska's salmon streams. For 3 to 7 years, the salmon have been at sea, but now have returned to the place of their birth to spawn. Their journey has taken them thousands of miles. In their final days, they must swim against the swift current, leap the waterfalls, and reach the gravel beds upstream. Against all odds, these remarkable fish have survived to lay the seeds of a new generation. At Taku Inlet south of Juneau, the Halia Gale moves into position. She's a gill netter. The crew will lay out the net, hoping they've chosen the right place at the right time. From day to day, net to net, commercial fishing is a gamble. Yet regardless of the day's catch, it has its rewards.
It's a way to enjoy the country that you live in. You live in Alaska, southeast Alaska. Being on the water is pretty neat. A dog. 10-5 in water.
Oh, right into slush ice. 33 degrees. Here's another one.
On the average, commercial fishermen in southeastern waters will haul in 20 million salmon each year, with a commercial value of $77 million. The silvery fish will be canned for the grocery shelves or shipped on ice all over the world. Commercial fishing and fish processing is a big employer in Southeast Alaska, especially in the summer. The timber industry plays an equally important role in the economy. But when it comes to jobs, government is Southeast's #1 industry, and Juneau is the #1 town. Perched at the base of towering Mount Juneau, Juneau is often described as the most scenic state capital in the country. With a population of nearly 30,000, it's the region's largest city, third largest in the state. A walking or bus tour of Juneau will take you past the marbled pillars of the Capitol building, where the legislature meets between January and May. Just a block away, the colonial-style governor's mansion, built in 1912. Downtown is a mixture of the new and the old. The onion-domed St. Nicholas Russian Orthodox Church. Built in 1894, it's the oldest Orthodox church in Southeast Alaska. South Franklin Street, with its false-fronted buildings and Gold Rush-era saloons. During the summer especially, the sidewalks are lively and the harbor buzzes from the sound of float planes. Of all the attractions, the Mendenhall Glacier is the most awe-inspiring. Flowing 12 miles out of the coast mountains, the Mendenhall terminates in a freshwater lake just 13 miles from downtown. You can drive to the glacier and hike near its face. The icebergs in the lake represent 200 years of compacted snow. Another spectacular way to see the glacier is by helicopter. Some helitours land on the glacier for an even closer look at this giant river of ice. On the weathered surface, the ice appears white, but deep beneath the glacier, it's icy blue. Formed under the enormous pressure of years of snowfall, the glacial ice is so dense, all but the blue wavelength of light is absorbed beneath the surface. This glacier is currently in recession, melting about 100 feet per year. The silty water flows from Mendenhall Lake to Gastineau Channel. Local tour operators run raft trips along the river for those not afraid to get a little wet. When it comes to having a good time, you'll find no better place than Juneau on the 4th of July. The frontier spirit comes alive on Front Street, as it has since the first prospectors struck gold here before the turn of the century. From the discovery in 1880 to 1944, the great mills in the area stamped out $158 million in gold. Today, pilings in the channel and rusting ruins are all that remain. But gold fever is hard to cure, and several sites in the area show promise for a revival of hard rock mining. There are no roads in or out of Juneau. But where the pavement ends, the Alaska Marine Highway begins. The state-run ferry system connects all the major communities in Southeast and extends beyond to Prince Rupert, British Columbia, and Bellingham, Washington. Heading north from Juneau, it travels 60 miles up scenic Lynn Canal, North America's longest and deepest fjord. For Alaskans, the comfortable ferries are basic transportation. For tourists, they're a year-round alternative to the luxury cruise ships. The cruise to the northern end of the Panhandle brings you to Skagway, another town built on gold. Skagway was gateway to the Canadian Klondike. When news of a new discovery rang out in 1897, the rush was on, and Skagway was the front door. The trail led from Skagway over the White Pass to Lake Bennett, where boats would be built to take the miners to the gold fields. A shorter yet more grueling trail was over the 32-mile Chilkoot Pass. In the first year, 20,000 gold-hungry prospectors made the trek. In that same year, the idea for the White Pass and Yukon Railroad was born. Today, you can still ride the narrow-gauge railroad to Lake Bennett. Steam Engine 73 pulls the vintage parlor cars through town, and then a more powerful diesel engine takes over for the climb to the summit. Although the streets were recently paved, Skagway today retains its Gold Rush flavor. Many of the original buildings still stand. It was along these boardwalks that the infamous Soapy Smith set up shop. In 1897 and 98, Soapy and his gang of thugs conned or outright stole the gold pokes of unsuspecting prospectors. Soapy's life and death is recreated every night during the summer in the days of 98 melodrama. Soapy met his end in a gunfight with town surveyor Frank Reed. Both are buried in Skagway's Gold Rush Cemetery. As the northern terminus of the Marine Highway, many visitors begin or end their southeast visit here. The other port at the north end of Lynn Canal is Haines. Situated at the mouth of the Chilkat River Valley, Haines is nestled between two mountain ranges. This scenic community was home to Alaska's first army post, Fort William H. Seward. Established in 1903 to keep the peace in gold camps, the fort today is recognized as a National Historic Site. Getting off the ferry in Haines, you can actually drive to the lower 48. The highway closely follows the famed Dalton Trail to the Klondike. A historic cabin from the Gold Rush era is found at the border crossing between Alaska and British Columbia. Most people visit Haines in the summer when the flowers are in bloom and the Chilkat River runs uncontrolled through the valley. But Haines is equally spectacular when the season changes. With winter's arrival to the Chilkat River come the eagles. 3,500 bald eagles, the largest concentration in North America. It is truly an amazing event in nature. The reason the eagles return year after year is simple. Warm currents keep a 5-mile stretch of the Chilkat River free of ice, and a late run of salmon provide an easy meal. Between October and February, and between meals, the eagles roost in the cottonwood trees along the river's edge. The mature eagles, with their white head and tail feathers, are easily distinguished from the younger birds. On land, the bald eagle is sometimes comical. In flight, they're everything you'd expect from our national symbol. Southeast Alaska is a majestic land. From the forests to the tallest peaks. The shimmering waters invite all who would come to explore Alaska's Inside Passage.